YouTube, what's going on, guys? It's Bushcraft Hippie. I'm going to be bringing you guys a little bit of a video today about firecraft, some skills. Most of the time when I do firecraft, I'm just kind of showing that I can do it. But lately I've been getting some good tips, and I've been really kind of dialing it in and practicing. And, once or twice a week when I'm not in the bush, I'm at my house, I'll go out on the porch where I'm at now, and I'll just practice on a piece of cardboard, different materials, different ways to use my fire steel to get a fire going. And a big shout out to Nate T in the trees, because he gave me a great tip that kind of jumped me into researching and doing a little more on the how-to of things, not just can I get a fire going, but how I can do it efficiently and using organic materials, because I use char cloth every single time. Char cloth is like, at this point I feel like it's cheating. When I first used it, I was like, oh, I got a fire going with char cloth, sweet. It's really easy, guys. I can get a fire going, one-handed with char cloth in like 30 seconds if I really want to try. Under a minute 30 almost every time. So Nate noticed that some of the cattail that he sent to me in a fire kit, I was using the cattail with the char cloth, and he said, go ahead and you don't need to use the char cloth. You can spark right onto the cattails. And I'd tried before, and I had an issue with it, and I noticed that it was a lot easier to just use the char cloth with the cattails. But what he said was fluff it out, like really fluff it out. He said I didn't need to even use as much as I did. And so I took a fourth of what I normally use, and I fluffed it out, and it took a spark and went immediately. And that kind of got me jump started on what I can use and the different materials that I have, and how I can start fires more efficiently and a lot more basic. So I'm gonna bring those materials, showcase them to you guys, and then we'll talk about it, and I'll show you some demonstrations of what I've learned on techniques on how to use these materials. So I'll bring you guys right back in just a second. Stay tuned. Don't you go away. Alrighty, YouTube. So I'm here. I'm right next to my grill. I've got you guys here just so once I get like little fires going, I can dump it into my grill and not worry about the wind taking any embers away. But I've got 4 materials here that are very basic. The wind's gonna try to take away the first one. Cattails. That's the first one that really got me going on what I was doing wrong. Like, technique is really key, and preparation. You can't just you can spark a spark into here, but it's not gonna go up as easy as if you prepare it properly. So we got cattails, we got some twine, and twine was one that I wasn't gonna use, and then I thought about it. I'm like, man, I got this twine sent to me, and it's probably one of the easier ones. So I don't know why I didn't even think twine until a couple days ago, but twine, raw birch bark, which is something I've seen and I've been wanting to do, but it's a little harder than the rest, I think, to do. And then good old fatwood. And fatwood is another one that if you don't do it correctly with preparation, you're gonna have a hard time lighting it with just the Ferro rod. So I'm gonna break it all down for you guys one by one and show you kind of what I learned and what works for me, and I'll give you guys a demonstration of all 4. So let's start off with the cattails. And what I do with the cattails, and the key where I was going wrong in the past, was I wasn't fluffing the cattails up enough. So you really want to fluff them out, and what that does is this is really fibrous, and all this stuff is packed in there. There's not a lot of room for oxygen, and you want to make room for that oxygen, because that's kind of key for a fire to get going, is oxygen. It needs to breathe. And what it does, this also increases the volume. I could have used half the amount of the cattails as I did this time, but in a survival situation, if you only find one cattail, you should be able to get a lot of fires going with just the cattail. Now you're gonna want other stuff available, some little twigs, maybe some birch bark, but this would be your starting material for your fire. We're gonna switch over now. I have the Bear Grylls Gerber fire steel. What's cool, it has a little container here that I can pop open, and that I can put materials in, like a little bit of twine, some birch bark, some of this. I have a favorite side. I like to use this side, and what you want to do is just really nice, powerful strokes in there. Oh, got a little bit going there. Ah! And what you can do too is you can scrape off, as you can see there, it's sparking, you can scrape off some of your magnesium. So instead of actually trying to strike at it, just scrape at it. And that'll shave off some pieces of your magnesium rod here. And then you can really get in there, and that will jumpstart your flame. So as you can see, it's really jumping across. Some of these parts that aren't as open, they're going to turn to ambers, and you can blow on them. And you can create ambers with that. So it catches in a flash fire, but also it can kind of condense and make really nice ambers. So cattails, once you learn how to do it, it's such a great tool, man. This is good stuff. Let's move on to maybe one of the more challenging ones. If you don't know what you're doing, is fat wood. It took me a little bit. I knew what I had to do. I just had to get the right technique. And to get a good, easy spark with the fat wood, take the back of your blade. I'm using my Schrade SCHF 36. It's got this huge 1/4 of an inch spine with a nice 90-degree angle. And what you do is you just scrape with the spine of your knife. And it's kind of like making a feather stick, but you're going to get these really fine slivers. And before I would try to make like a feather stick with it, and it worked okay, but these little slivers are much better. And I like to just make a huge pile, get a nice amount there. The smell that's coming off this hemlock fatwood is just amazing. And it makes these waxy, nice slivers. And the smell, man, if you guys could smell this, it is good stuff. What's cool is it really processes down the fatwood nice and smooth. Makes it look real good. Now we'll get all this into a little pile. Perfect. And this one too, it's sometimes good to scrape off some pieces of your rod here, and that way it has maybe a little more of a jump start. But get a little bit in there, and it's not really good to do that every time because it will gouge out your ferro rod. But come on. There we go. And what's great about this is this burns slow. Look at that, guys. It's like candle wax. And it's just going to smother, and it's going to burn, and it's going to just give you a long-lasting flame to work with. And that's why fat wood is so valuable, guys, because look at that. That is... I mean, that's just little slivers. I've never seen any other wood do that. So fat wood is a magical thing, and also the smell is unreal. Really good. So I'm gonna dump this into my fire catcher, and I'm actually gonna be able to reuse most of that fat wood that's in there, and the cattails too. All right. So number 3 on the list, we're cruising right along. We got fat wood, we got cattails done. Let's talk about the twine. One end I've already worked on a little bit, but I'll show you guys the unworked end. It's all wrapped up like this. First thing I do is I just kind of attack it. And you want to get it as fluffed up as you can. Much like the cattails, you want to get this fibrous material spread out. More surface area for a spark from your ferro rod to land into. Put that down. Now, like I said, this is the one I found last and started practicing last. So God knows what's going to happen, but I do have pretty good luck with it so far. Oop. Look at that. That's how easy it is, guys. Oh. And I mean, look at it. You could get some little twigs going with that. It wouldn't even burn more than this far down. And that's just a quick, easy way. So twine, amazing. Good stuff. And last but certainly not least, for me, there's a lot of birch in the area that I live in, so birch bark I can get, and this is actually a little bit better than some of the birch that I've found. It comes off in such a nice strip, and big shout out, all of these materials I'm showing you now were gifted to me by Nate from Tea in the Trees. So Nate, man, great job with this stuff, and he gave me a lot of good info on it as well. So what I like to do for this, it makes a nice platform, a nice base, and what we're going to do is we want to scrape here. And what I'm doing, I'm not scraping this way, I'm actually taking my blade and kind of using the edge and just very, very lightly. Also want to make sure you don't get your fingers or anything crazy here. I have this blade sharpened, and you do not want to slip with this bad boy. So you're not really using any force at all. You're just barely using, I like to use this part of the blade. And it's a nice, easy motion, guys. Nothing crazy. You're not trying to dig in too much. And it creates a fine powder. It creates little slivers. And you want to gather up this powder. Okay. And this one I think is the hardest out of all of them. Because you're working with such little material here. I'm going to scrape off a little bit of the ferro rod. Okay. Whoop. She was a short little one there, but you guys saw it sparked up. I don't have a whole lot scraped off here. Nope, almost had one there. Look at that. So there we go, guys. That's 4 materials you can use, all natural. Other than the ferro rod, you're not going to find one of these in the woods. But easily sourceable materials, and it's a variety of different stuff. So if you don't have a lot of birch in your area, maybe you have cattails. If you don't have a whole lot of cattails, well, maybe you can go to the store and get some twine. And if you can't find any of those, look for coniferous trees, anything with like needles on it. That's a resinous tree, and hopefully you can find some fatwood. So thank you guys for watching. I hope this was informative. Char cloth for life. And thank you guys for watching, though. Seriously, it's much appreciated. Hope you guys have a great day. Take care. Peace out. Oh yeah.